Hi folks, Canadian Prepper here. So today we're going to be reviewing the GoSun Sport, a very practical and highly efficient solar stove that relies on nothing but the heat of the sun to cook your meals in a relatively short period of time. It requires no fuel, it gives off no smoke, so it doesn't give away your location, and it's able to contain a lot of the smell that might emanate into the nostrils of some of your envious non-prepper neighbors. Alright, so the GoSun Stove is a practical solar cooker. Basically, if you don't know what a solar cooker is, it concentrates the sun's light and focuses it in one area that gets very hot, and this allows you to cook your food without using any sort of combustibles or any fuel. Basically, you're converting light energy to heat energy. Now, the only downside to this has been that typically it's a slower process depending on the setup that you have. It's not that portable, depending again on the setup you have, and usually the ones that are portable aren't that efficient. So what the GoSun Stove tries to achieve is low convection loss, which is basically the separation of the warm air inside from the air outside the cooker. And using an innovative tube-like design, it's able to reach very high temperatures at relatively quick speeds, even in low light conditions. All in a package that is very portable and easy to use and easy to set up. But as with all new products, there's always something that can be improved. And I was sent one of these to review, and as you know, I don't pull any punches when it comes to reviewing the gear on this channel. I'm going to tell you all the things that went wrong in my testing and all the things that went right. All the things that I think are great about this product and all the things that could use improvement. Alright, so where the GoSun differs from most solar stoves is that it's a tubular design, and that allows it to convert more of the sunlight that enters the reflectors into usable heat. So it comes with two parabolic reflectors that are made of aluminum, and they are adjustable, so you can adjust them to the direction of the sun, of course. And it comes with a unique glass vacuum tube oven that I'm going to talk about, and it also has the stainless steel cooking tray that you put inside. Now, the type of glass that's used in the vacuum tube that you put your food into is called borosilicate, and it's a very thermal resistant glass which is used in a variety of different high quality products, things such as laboratory beakers, certain types of cookware. Some Pyrex cookware is made of borosilicate. Now, once again, the glass is very durable. I actually had the GoSun oven in a box on a shelf, and for some reason the drywall anchors on that shelf just gave way all of a sudden, and it dropped from about 6 feet, and it didn't break, so I was happy with that. Now, it was encased in the aluminum parabolic reflectors at the time. Nonetheless, that's still pretty impressive. Now, there's a few things you need to know about the GoSun Stove before you use it, test it, and review it. Number one is that right when you open the tube up, you release a lot of the warm air. It's very similar to an oven, but an oven seems to heat up a bit faster than this. So one of the problems I encountered when I first started testing it was that I was constantly opening it up to see how cooked the food was. Because the tube is tinted a darker color in order to attract more of the sun's light, you can't actually see the food inside without pulling it out, and that's going to release a lot of that heat, and that's going to slow your cooking time. Now, in subsequent tests that I've done using the product, I have found that it's cooked a lot faster and a lot more consistently if I don't keep opening the tube. And usually this is okay because I've seldom had any food burn in it. It's not a searing heat like it would be from an oven where it's going to char your food. It's just going to cook it consistently at an even temperature, but make no mistake, it can get very hot. The GoSun webpage claims that it can reach temperatures of up to 550 to 700 degrees, so that's significantly higher than most conventional ovens. The interesting thing about the GoSun Stove is that even in extremely low light conditions, it's going to warm up that tube. So just to give you an indication of what I'm talking about here, I actually had it on the counter, and there was just a normal 60-watt light bulb shining on it for, a few hours. And when I pulled it out, the stainless steel tray was actually quite warm. So that just goes to show that by such a small amount of light, you can actually use this to heat up your food. Now obviously you're not going to be able to cook anything with the heat generated by a light bulb, but the GoSun claims that you can use it in extremely low light conditions. I think one of the reviews that I came across said that you can even use it at night under certain conditions. So that's kind of interesting, although I'm skeptical as how effective that would be. Now GoSun does have an interesting little chart here where they show you how long it's going to take to cook certain types of food. And I think this is pretty accurate for the most part. I think under most conditions what you're going to be getting is good sun. I was able to get full sun at certain times. Of course, I do live in Canada, so the sun I'm getting may not be the sun you're getting obviously in certain regions of the United States, in desert climates. And the whole idea with solar cooking is that you can cook with it in wintertime, although obviously it's going to take a bit longer because you're going to have some heat loss that you wouldn't have in summertime. Now, something they don't mention here in this chart is how much you're opening it up to look at the food, because every time you open that tube up, you lose a lot of that hot air, and then it's going to take time, maybe a couple minutes, to get back to a hot enough temperature to cook your food fast. Now, I cooked some souvlaki, and what I would say was full sun to good sun, and it's right on par with what they're predicting here. It was about 60 minutes to 70 minutes. But you know what, the great thing about this, I must say, in spite of the fact that I don't really like the shape so much and that you can only fit so much on the tray, I must say that it's very convenient to just put your food in there, walk away, and 60 minutes later you come back and it's there. Unlike a barbecue or something where you have to constantly be checking the food to make sure it's not charring on one side or burning on one side, this would be very convenient for a grid down or emergency situation where there was a power loss and you didn't have any combustibles to use for energy. You could just put your food in here, go do something else, because obviously you're going to be tasked with a variety of things, whether that's security, procurement of resources, first aid, the collection of water, caring for loved ones, all those things that might present themselves in an emergency situation, and you don't want to be burdened with the task of cooking food. This would probably be something that might be useful. Now that said, you can only get so much in here at a time, so you need time, you need sunlight, and if you're cooking for a large family, this probably is not going to do it. For that, you're probably going to need the bigger stationary model, and that is going to retail for around $600. So certainly not cheap. There is a 2-year warranty on it, so I'm guessing the only real Achilles heel of this whole design is possibly the borosilicate tube, which could break or crack, but that is unlikely once again because it is a very thick tempered glass, which, so long as you're careful with it, it should foreseeably last quite a long time, if not a lifetime. Now there are some design aspects which do need a bit of work. So when you're pulling out the stainless steel tray, there's no rails that it's sliding on. So every time you put it in and pull it out, you hear that scraping against the glass, which just can't be good. Now because the glass is so tough, it's probably not getting scratched in there, but just how it sounds, it doesn't sound good. So if they could have some sort of rail system or something to that effect, which would allow for more smooth insertion of the tube without it coming into direct contact with the glass. Another thing that they probably could improve is that the stopper on the end, so sometimes it doesn't properly seal and it can be loose. There's nothing that's actually locking it into place. It's basically just sitting there. So if you have the GoSun on an awkward angle or something, it might open a few millimeters, and that's very significant because that's going to lead to a lot of heat loss. There is a small hole in that tube for ventilation, just to let some of that steam out and let some of that pressure out of the tube, but you don't want any more air being lost than that. Another challenge with the GoSun stove is in the cleaning. The GoSun is probably going to require you to, and you're probably going to want to wash it out every single time, and that requires some maneuvering, and it can be a little messy until you get the hang of it. As you can see here, they give you this little buffer that you screw on to the end of it, and you basically pull that in and out and scrub it down with soap afterwards, which of course you're gonna have that stainless steel tray scraping against the sides. It's very hard to keep it from doing so. So you're inevitably going to be scraping up the glass a little bit. Probably not the biggest thing, but you just don't want to do anything that might weaken that tube. So the cleaning of it isn't as easy as you would think. Although I would recommend cleaning it every single time, just so that stuff doesn't get caked on there, because you certainly don't want to stick food in there if there's going to be microorganisms growing in there after you've used it without cleaning it. Now, one more thing that I like about it is that unlike a barbecue that sends the smell of food in all four directions for miles and miles, I found that the food smell in this is quite contained. So if you're looking for a stealth element, not only is this going to be quiet and cooking, it's not going to require fuel, you're not going to be able to see smoke from a fire, and you're not going to be able to smell the food from very far. So this definitely is the ultimate way to cook on the down low. This could be very important. I mean, let's say there was a grid down situation and you were the only person on your block who had provisions. Well, the last thing you want to do is provoke your neighbors who may be going without and looking at you with envy with the smell of food wafting over into their direction. So there are pros and cons, and of course transporting it is very large and cumbersome in spite of the fact that it's promoted as being portable. Now there is a GoSun Sport Mini. However, the problem with that is that it's not going to have enough surface area in order to cook your food fast enough. This could be something that could replace barbecues if they could find a more effective way to clean it, seal it, and get it down to a more manageable cost. You're basically getting something that can cook food for you an infinite amount of times using the energy of the sun. And if you don't live in a wooded region, this is definitely something that could be useful, especially if you're in a place like the desert where there's not a lot of fuel to be burned. This could be a godsend. I think that this is definitely something that can come in handy for a person who is into the off-grid lifestyle. I think it's going to cook a lot more efficiently than your typical solar oven. I would say if you live in a region with a lot of sun and your family is only 2 and maybe 3 at the most people, then this could be something which paid itself off if you were trying to live the minimalist off-grid lifestyle. This could definitely reduce your costs in the long run. Now, for the average person, it's going to be a lot easier to just cook your food inside. Probably even easier just to cook it on the barbecue. But then again, like I said, there are a lot of benefits for this. One of them is that you put your food in and then you walk away and you come back an hour later and it's cooked. That's all there is to it. Now that's the same for an oven arguably, but you still do have to check it and poke it and, you know, turn it over and stir it up. You really don't have to do that with this. Basically, if the food on the end right where the handle is cooked, you know that it's cooked all the way through, because that's the end where that tends to get coldest, because there is that small amount of air that's being released constantly. So anyways, that's my review of the GoSun. I think there's a lot more potential for the grill version of this, because for family purposes, in order for it to be practical, it just has to be larger. But I want to thank Matt from GoSun Stoves for sending me one of these to do an honest and fair review with no strings attached. He's definitely interested in serving the prepper and survivalist community, so I give him props for that, for thinking about us. And I'm going to post links in the description. If you are interested in the GoSun solar cooker, you can get it through that link and support the channel at the same time. Thanks for watching. Canadian Prepper out. Check out the Canadian Preppers Network blog, an excellent resource for survivalists and preppers.